Well, hello, folks. This is Jeffrey Darty. I'm your Christian whistleblower, and I'm very excited today to bring you another installment in our series on the Mandela effect and the Antichrist. I'm glad that you've joined me as we unindoctrinate ourselves, and certainly as you unindoctrinate yourself. Now, I want to zoom right into this. And last time we talked, we were talking about Kabbalah. And of course, those of you that have followed me for any length of time, well, maybe for 4 or 5 years, know that when I originally started this work, we were going under NCK, or New Covenant Kabbalah. And the reason for that is because I discovered that Yeshua was teaching a great deal of Kabbalah, thought that that was kind of his main message. But as I began and continued to study, I realized that Kabbalah was only one of the things that Yeshua was talking about. And just to throw it in, Yeshua said, "I am the way, the truth, and the life." As you get into the original Greek, it really means I have brought you the best of all the ways of human spirituality, including Kabbalah and other things, the best of all the truths of human spirituality, and have crafted them together in a path that leads to life and back to the divine for the first time, by the way, able to be accomplished within a single lifetime. But we were New Covenant Kabbalah. We're now New Cosmic Knowledge, because we have realized that Yeshua taught far more than Kabbalah alone. And we're now embracing the teachings of Yeshua on many other disciplines beyond the realm of Jewish mysticism. But that being said, whether or not you or I personally place any value in Kabbalah, we saw on and the other Jewish writers and copiers of the Old Testament certainly did place high value on Kabbalah. And even if you don't want to grant that, suffice it to say that Daniel would have been fully aware of the implications of the language he was using and would have used it with full intention. And we know that Yeshua, or Daniel actually, said that Antichrist would be using the Mandela effect to suppress the evolution and the emergence of Dath. Dath is knowledge. We saw that Dath, or that knowledge, means the perfected state of infinite sharing. That statement means that the divine light that's been concealed would be revealed, and that divine light would begin to be infinite and radiating, and that the divine light that's always been shining but that humans have not been able to comprehend would break forth. Daniel said that would break forth in the times of the end, when people are going to and fro, traveling more than ever before, and we certainly fit those days. But no one needs to care about or even know about Kabbalah to see the incredible significance that Daniel was conveying to us with that word Dath. Dath is the perfected state of infinite sharing. Dath is the formerly concealed divine light being revealed in full glory. Dath is the recognition by humanity of the continually shining divine light that promises to make us all one and to make us all what we want to be. Dath, simply put, is the ultimate fulfillment of the great plan of the divine. And it's this Dath that Antichrist is trying to change. It is this Dath that Antichrist is trying to alter. And because the fact of the matter is, Dath is the death of Antichrist and his work and plan and program here on earth. Now, with all humility and just being straightforward, our message is one of these messages of Dath. What we talk about every day, well, not every day, but 2-3 times a week here on the computer, the things that we talk about, literally, folks, literally, without any bombacity, without any making this any more grandiose than it really is, the things we talk about have not been publicly heard in over 2,000 years. The things we talk about have not been talked about since the death of the Apostle John. The things we talk about are being heard for the first time since the flames of the army of Titus burned Jerusalem to the ground. These are the truths that the Mandela effect is being initiated in order to create plausible deniability for the dominant paradigm. Things like the corruption of the true timeline of the New Testament. This is a blatant changing of times. The true historical order of the books has been intentionally jumbled to create a new timeline that never existed. Daniel said Antichrist would seek to create diverse timelines. Go back to the videos in this series, you'll see that. And the Mandela effect is also there to hide the creation of these new divisive timelines. The New Testament was not Jesus with some nice words, then the apostles with more nice words, finished up by Paul with the real meat and potatoes. That's a corruption of what really happened. Viewed in their true historical chronological order, the books of the New Testament reveal a pitched theological battle between the original Yeshua movement and the forces of Paul and his new doctrine. Time has been changed, and a diverse new timeline has been presented to and accepted by the entire world. And hear me, this was not done by the Mandela effect. The Mandela effect is being done in effort to hide the revelation of that truth, of that dath, of that knowledge. Another example, we're not filled with original sin, as Pauline Christianity tells us, but we have the spark of divinity within. That truth was not revealed by the Mandela effect. The Mandela effect is being perpetrated to prevent the emergence of that truth, of that dath, of that knowledge. Another one, blood sacrifice, was replaced by water baptism by Yeshua himself. Didn't come through the Mandela effect. Mandela effect is coming to prevent the emergence of that truth, of that dath, of that knowledge. Last one, well, maybe second to last one. Blood sacrifice, as we've said, has been replaced. And not only are there no signs of the times, no second coming to look for, Yeshua said the kingdom has already come, and a wicked and an adulterous generation seek after signs. Antichrist is synonymous with wickedness. Antichrist is synonymous with adulterous. These things did not come into being by the Mandela effect. They came in, the Mandela effect is coming into being to keep these messages and these truths, and of course, many others, from bursting onto the scene so everyone can understand them. And finally, I have to mention this, that what is being portrayed in the book of Revelation as a second coming that Yeshua said isn't going to happen is actually a false flag attempt at world domination by the same Antichrist coming as an imposter. I've talked about this on Coast to Coast AM, going to talk about it on Coast to Coast AM in the future, but none of these emerging truths are results of the Mandela effect. Hear that. None of these emerging truths, none of this emerging dath, none of this emerging knowledge are results of the Mandela effect. They are the results of the unsealing of knowledge prophesied by Daniel. These things emerging are not from the Mandela effect. They're from the unsealing of the prophecies and the words of Daniel as prophesied for this time. Hear this and understand this. The Mandela effect is being done to create plausible deniability for the dominant Pauline paradigm. And to be fair, the dominant Jewish paradigm and the dominant Islamic paradigm. I guess it'd be better stated that the Mandela effect is being done to create plausible deniability for the dominant Abrahamic paradigm concerning these and other emerging bits of knowledge, of dath, of truth. These truths are a huge part of the emerging knowledge Daniel told us Antichrist would use the Mandela effect in attempt to call these truths into question. And really, the Mandela effect is Antichrist's red herring. What's a red herring, Jeff? Well, Wikipedia says a red herring is something that misleads or distracts from a relevant or important issue. It may be either a logical fallacy or a literary device that leads audiences towards a false conclusion. A red herring might be intentionally used, Wikipedia says. And something, Google search said, a red herring is something, especially a clue, that is or is intended to be misleading or distracting. Antichrist wants us to throw the baby out with the bathwater. Daniel told us that Antichrist was going to be using changes in time, changing in epochs, changing in specific occurrences and notable events. And he was going to be using those things also in an effort to create divine or divisive timelines. But those things are created in order to do what? To stop the emergence of death, of knowledge, of wisdom, of great truths. Because if you can create a scenario where you can say, oh, the New Testament wasn't really jumbled, that's just enough from the Mandela effect. If you can create a scenario where you can say, oh, well, Yeshua didn't really do away with blood sacrifice, that's just from the Mandela effect. If you can create a scenario that shows, oh, Paul wasn't really a false apostle, that's just from the Mandela effect. You've now removed the objective text as a basis for all truth. And now it gets back to running back home to mama and believing what you've always been told. If this leads to people having to make up their own minds, I'm all for that. Fantastic. But the problem is most people do not have the mental tenacity to make up their own minds. They'll just run home to mama. Antichrist wants us to throw out the baby with the bathwater. Antichrist wants us to disregard emerging truth because he's created this plausible deniability with this Mandela effect, and he wants us to run back home to Mother Rome. I didn't get through as much as I thought I would, but there's a lot more to talk about, and there's a lot more to go over. This was video number 4 in the Mandela Effect and Antichrist series. We'll be back on Monday with another one. And until then, remember, folks, I'm your Christian whistleblower, Jeffrey Daugherty. I'm wishing you peace. I'm wishing you light. And above all else, I'm hoping you will unindoctrinate yourself.